It's such a pleasure for me to be here, so thank you so much. I was joking earlier that we really have a captive audience because lunch is next, so you literally have to stay here if you want to eat. So welcome and welcome. My name is Lise Wilcox. You can think like new lease on life, but it gets messed up all the time to the extent that when I'm at Starbucks, if they're really struggling with the order, I'm like, that'll be for me. So today I would love to share a little bit about how we use emotional intelligence and emotional health to really integrate that into our financial decision making. Because spoiler alert, all of our financial decision making is emotional. We've really been talking about emotional health all day, from culture to belonging to resilience. It's all emotional health. And so I want to just niche down a little bit and talk about how we really feel enough in ourselves by integrating emotional intelligence into our financial decision making. You know that you are in the right place if you feel like you've done everything right, if you feel like you've checked all the boxes, and you still feel like it's never enough. This is not gender specific. This is a human specific trend. And you don't have to raise your hand, but I will raise my hand on your behalf. I think so many of us feel like this pursuit of never ever feeling enough, and that's how you know you're in the right place right now. So my name is Lise Wilcox. I came in from Toronto, so I'm up in Canada, and I have a black belt in resilience. Since about 2015, I've been a strategic life and business coach, really facilitating teams and leaders, or helping teams and leaders navigate chaos and change. How did I get there? Well, I overcame a aggressively narcissistic, abusive childhood, which followed me into marriage and then subsequent divorce. That led to being single and solo parenting 3 little girls, all while navigating a little surprise we like to call breast cancer. While that was happening, I was also building my very own multiple 6-figure business on my own. I built it through Instagram, and it was such a pleasure to connect with Emily earlier to actually thank somebody behind the code, like a real live human being from Instagram. And as I said, now I help leaders and their teams help navigate chaos and change together. As one particular interest or a subset of the work that I do, I am so interested in women, worth, and wealth. I am passionate about helping women make more money and really specifically closing that gap between self-worth and net worth. And this little number on the screen kind of changed everything for me. Honestly, I am so glad you're already sitting down, because this is one of those jaw-dropping stats that should shock you. 11.1%. That is the number of working women in the US who will ever hit 6 figures in income. Now, for context, we know that $85,000 it's like, I call it the happiness quotient. It costs about $85,000 to live comfortably. Your basic needs are taken care of. You can even go on a vacation. It's a humble existence, but it's enough. So if 85,000 is basically what we need to survive in this environment, and we know that only 11.1% of women are making just slightly above that, the numbers are already telling us that most women's emotional and mental health is being dominated by financial stress. On top of that, this is not gender specific, this statistic, we know that half of the folks who actually do hit 6 figures in revenue, half of them are still living paycheck to paycheck. We know that 75% of high net worth women still feel like they're not safe, they're not secure, they don't feel like they're in control of their finances. And we know that 90% of money is emotional. The rest is just math. What we really know is that money stuff is never about money stuff. So we need to really engage emotional intelligence and look through this through the lens of what I like to call wealth EQ. So we are a group today of finance nerds, I would say, people who are dealing really with this culture and context of wealth IQ. But just like a little iceberg, what you see on the top is like 10%. and everything that's hidden beneath the surface, that 90% of how we relate to money, it's all in our emotional health. So you know that 10% is already huge. It's looking at money as a tool, investments as vehicles for wealth building, and really looking at the facts, figures, rules, inevitable loopholes that we find to succeed in there. Wealth EQ is all about how we feel about money. How do we relate to money? What are our thoughts and beliefs? What has been passed on to us through generational trauma, generational storytelling, our culture? What have our past stories and experiences taught us to feel about money? And how does that create this series of perceptions and really perceived limitations? I would love to know who in this room had this kitchen. I know there's got to be one person at least. I personally have renovated this kitchen 3 times over. So in 1974, not only were we at peak design capability, something specific happened that really changed the course of life for women. And that was the first time that a woman could have a mortgage or a credit card in her name without permission from a male cosigner. It was in 1974. In the span of human evolution, it happened right then. It's about like 6 microseconds ago. And so if you look at IQ and EQ of wealth, how were women ever supposed to learn the tools, the resources, the wealth building? And on top of that, what are those lasting implications of we don't trust you to buy a house? Actually, you're not responsible enough to have a credit card. You're going to need somebody's permission. Oh, and by the way, that permission is somebody else's to give. And then you have it perpetuated and backed up by all kinds of stereotypical tropes that are reinforced by the media over and over again. And really, we have to get to the point of, what do we do about it? And I promise it's a lot easier than we think, because what we really have to do is get clear on how we feel about money. And in the words of Montel Jordan, this is how we do it. We want to look at our family money tree. So first, we just do a little critical self-reflection and look at, what did you learn from your mom about giving and receiving? What did you learn from your dad about safety and security? That's always a tearjerker, so if you're doing this later, have tissues on hand. And 3, what did you learn from your environment or your cultural stories and beliefs that have helped shape or inform your feelings about and your relationship to money? Next, we're going to take it to a deeper level. What if money were your boyfriend? This is very Taylor Swift inspired, like Karma is my boyfriend. So this could be boyfriend, girlfriend, life partner, whatever feels most comfortable for you. But really think about it in terms of, if you were describing this personified relationship to money, what would you have to say? Do you feel safe, secure, respected, loving, and safe? Do you feel a little hot and heavy and you love money when it's right near you, but you don't really want to invest any time or energy in getting to know it? Or maybe you feel like you are chasing and chasing and chasing that money, but you never feel worthy of having it. Once you are clear on what your relationship is like with your boyfriend, money, then you can ask yourself, okay, but how do I want my relationship to feel? Most of us don't want to feel insecure in a relationship. Most of us want to feel like we are safe, secure, and loved. So why does this matter? And how does it actually affect us here in this room? Well, I will tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt, if you don't have a healthy relationship to money, you 100% cannot make or stick to a budget. You can't just stop spending. And this is the real big one. You can never work or earn your way to enough. And that's the gut puncher. Because again, I will raise my hand on behalf of everybody else here, but you're welcome to join me if you'd like. You cannot overperform your way to feeling enough. That is an inside job that we have to narrow that gap in between self-worth and net worth. So I would encourage you today to really just think to yourself as you're on your commute home or falling asleep tonight, what would enough feel like for you? You know, we all have to define success for ourselves, and what would enough feel like for you specifically? Not what you've been conditioned to see or to want, but what would enough feel like for you? And I promise you can totally do this. You can start right now. And what we can actually do is look at these 3 key takeaways as you're going home today. 1, money stuff is never about money stuff. 2, we want to examine the stories that inform our habits. And 3, we want to define what enough feels like for you specifically. I'd also encourage us to make a commitment to ourselves and a commitment to one another in the energy of this room today that it is possible for me to change my relationship with money. You can just take that in your pocket, your purse, your heart, wherever feels most comfortable, and say it to yourself over the course of the day. Actually, it is possible for me to change my relationship to money. I would love to stay connected with you. My name is Lisa Wilcox. That's my address or my email address, etc. We have 9 seconds, so I'd like to say we've done a great job here in our 10-minute lightning talk, but I'd also love to connect with you over a turkey sandwich out in the hallway. Thank you so much.